I don't like most dance concerts I see. And I don't like most of them because I think they're very boring. And I don't like most of them because they seem to be always the same thing, maybe with different costumes and maybe some different bad music. And I don't believe in that. And I, as an audience person, as an audience member, as one person sitting in an audience, I want to see something different happen all the time.
When we started filming Morris in the autumn of 1989, he was reviving his celebrated production of Handel's L'Allegro, Il Penseroso and Il Moderato, which he premiered the year before to great international acclaim. L'Allegro is his most ambitious work to date. It runs over 2 hours and requires 24 dancers, a live orchestra, chorus and 5 solo singers.
I love Baroque music.
Each action will derive new grace from order, measure, time and place from order, measure, time and place from order, measure, time and place. Look around, you see everything?
Since Baroque music came, you know, the concert music came quite directly from dancing music, it's the rhythms and the tempi are conducive to dancing. It makes me want to dance. Makes a lot of people want to dance. I would say that just about every dance starts directly from a piece of music, and then I get to like try and discover the little secrets in it and turn that somehow into something that's worth watching that happens at the same time as the music.
We did 2 films about Matt Morris, and this one, shot in 1990, was near the beginning of his career, but he'd already hit a peak. He'd gone to Belgium, he was doing the biggest production he'd ever done, he'd never been as well funded, and we followed that through. A great production of L'Allegro. He was a lovely man, really. He was as fluid in his own movements and his own attitude and his own conversation as he was in inspiring the dancers to dance that way. I always thought there was a touch of Isadora Duncan about him, from what we read about Isadora Duncan, as well as having a knowledge of more strict ballet rules and disciplines, as it were. He was deeply inspired by Baroque music. He kept digging in it and finding more and more passion in it, more than most people give it credit for. And he was very good with ensembles. He was in and out of their group as they themselves were dancing. See, I'm doing this sort of stuff. Even all this many years later, I'm vaguely remembering him by imitating him. So this is Mark Morris in full flow as a young man in Belgium.
While rehearsing L'Allegro, Morris was also in the early stages of creating an entirely different kind of work. It was set to music by Schoenberg, his 5 orchestral pieces.
You know, a lot of people hear the word Schoenberg and think, oh God, it's something I'll never be able to listen to or understand because it's modern or something. And this is actually extremely romantic and extremely violent and extremely tender. And from the beginning, it sounded like music for a movie. It's extremely suspenseful and never exactly what you think should happen next. The way this music is put together isn't the same sort of linear logic that one's accustomed to in Schubert, for example. So that although things are developed and recapitulated, they happen in a different order than might be expected. And it seemed to me that there was something of a Hitchcock element. That's what I wanted, that element of Hitchcock versus Schoenberg. It's like, well, of course, Schoenberg, Hitchcock, everybody knows they're perfect companions. Misha, and see, I want them to run as they embrace. I'm not doing Hitchcock. It's just that I decided to set up situations that were sort of out of context. So I put in some cinematic things, like replaying the same thing from different angles, repeating something at a different tempo. Run! That's ego! 2, 3. Rond de jambe. Hold this, go on. Rond de jambe. Hold this, run. Misha, stand up. And go. I usually don't have a problem making up steps. The problem is liking them after I've made them up. So what I generally do is make up way too much stuff and edit.
One of the dancers in the new piece was Mikhail Baryshnikov, who joined Morris in Brussels as a guest artist after his recent departure from American Ballet Theatre.
Yeah, just that.
It's always a very challenging experience because he's so much ahead of you in his creation that it's an incredible challenge to kind of keep up with him. His outrageous style of rehearsing, maybe you noticed, provokes you to be in your toes all the time. And I like that.
Okay, what are you doing? Well, I'm rehearsing.
On the contemporary dance scene, I would say that Mark Morris is relatively unusual within modern dance for giving music the priority it has in his work. He has stuck to his guns. In maturity, he knows that's what fires his imagination, and we can still take great pleasure in the fact he's using music in a lot of different ways. He has been criticized sometimes for music visualization, or Mickey Mousing, if you like. But that doesn't necessarily have to be a problem. Everyone around the world, when they're dancing a folk dance, dances to the beat. And he can choose to do that sometimes, but he can also choose to be quite selective about contacting the music, highlighting certain moments. So you actually hear the music in a new way when he choreographs it, because he'll pull out certain things, let other things sort of slide away into your subconscious. And there are a couple of times where he's really ignored music and worked quite independently of it.
Populous cities please me then, and the busy heart of men.
There's a fine line here between dancing and not dancing, and I have no idea what that is. Get going, Greg! You know, all we really have to work with are walking and running and turning and falling and stuff. And you can do it a bunch of different ways, and one of those ways is ballet. You know, so if you're walking, and you're walking at the same time music is playing, maybe it's dancing. Go! Don't be late! Down! All movement is dramatic. The question of abstraction is really ridiculous, I think, in dancing, because there are people doing it. I'll use anything. A step that I love that Mr. Balanchine made up, you know, God rest his soul in heaven. Or, you know, something I saw a 2-year-old do, you know, on a bus. That doesn't matter. Because a lot of different things happen in life, you know, and I don't think that should be that much different in the theater. Et ça fait combien?
250.
250, je prends.
Oui, oui.
2.
2?
Oui.
Ah, bon, merci.
Pourquoi pas?
Since Morris founded his company in 1980, he's choreographed over 50 different dances for them. This has been made possible by the terrific loyalty of the dancers, here celebrating another first night. The company is held together both by the quality of the work and by Morris's magnetic personality.
He's alive, very vital, and he has a stage personality, which is part of Mark and always has been. I had a father who was that way, and he, you know, loved to be on stage. He loved to dress in costumes, and he loved to dance. And I think Mark just inherited some of that.
My mother's the reason why I started dancing, actually. I mean, I always danced around the house. She's the one who took me to the first concert that I really, really loved, which was a flamenco concert. And I begged to study that. So I started with flamenco, and then I started doing some ballet, and then I started doing some, you know, like Israeli folk dancing. Then I fell into a very naughty group of people called the Kolida Balkan Dance Ensemble. For some reason, they had a bad reputation. Like, they drank and they slept with each other. Oh my God, no one's ever done that before in history. But I guess the thing was that I was like 13 when that happened. And we did mostly Yugoslav and Bulgarian dancing, but it also included some Romanian, some Pontic Greek dancing, some Turkish dancing. And I've had experience with different American dancing, couple dances, you know, waltz, schottisch, hambo, you name it. I do line dances and circle dances because I love them, and they're also pretty early in dance history. The first thing people did, maybe after they stopped like killing each other with rocks, was like hold hands and dance together. The thing is that I want people to look like people when they're dancing, and I would say that came from the very, very important dancing experience that I had that I still try to find, which is, okay, let's dance together.
That was beautiful. Okay, take 4.
In 1631, the young poet John Milton wrote 2 poems, L'Allegro and Il Penseroso, as a complementary pair of pastoral odes. They argue the relative merits of mirth and melancholy and contain some of the finest pastoral poetry in the English language. In 1740, Handel set the poems to music, adding a 3rd strain to the argument, Il Moderato, the voice of 18th century reason and balance.
There were like, you know, 100 years plus between all of these people, you know, the Milton and then the Handel and then the Blake and then me. What was really interesting is the way that all of those things could work together. William Blake did a series of drawings that were based on the poems. There's a portrait of Melancholy and her companions. I stole directly several moves. For example, Blake's image of the moon, which happens several times in the dance. It happens in Me When the Sun Begins to Flame. Then there are other things, just positions like sitting curled up on the floor. Then there's also a part in Haydn from Days Garish Eye where one person's asleep and the other one is being frightened by this nightmare figure. There's a wing picture that it's almost like a peacock tail where, you know, there are different figures hidden in this wing, and it's sort of like a horrible sort of opium dream.
L'Allegro was a piece that that you came away from thinking that you'd had an overwhelming, rich human experience. The whole world of human experience was sort of laid out for you. There were these two sides, the penseroso, the thoughtful, the allegro, the more extrovert of the two. You heard about gods, goddesses, nymphs. You heard about real people who lived in cities, who lived in the countryside. There was a big pastoral element. There was so many different facets to it, which were of interest. And the standard of the choreography and the range of ideas, the kinds of movement, the fun, the sorrow, were quite remarkable. And I don't think that there are many pieces that are of that high standard, lasting 2 hours, that you're likely to see in modern dance or indeed ballet.
I decided to work in a variety of styles because that's what happens in the music, that's what happens in the text, that's what I like to have happen in a show. This dance used to be called the stupid men's dance because it's stupid behavior. So it's slap, 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 this competition thing, and then the kissing stuff, which is a very artificial and civilized way of greeting other people. It's about how stupid and comic, you know, general male behavior is.
Shift side to side. Spectacular spacing effect.
I'll to the well-trod stage anon. I'll to the well-trod stage anon. If Johnson's learn a talk beyond. If Johnson's learn a talk beyond.
I'm of two minds, at least, about the dancing thing. You know, one is that it's just a dance. It'll be over pretty soon. Don't lose your shirt. If you don't like it, you can always just like go home or just stick it out because it'll be over pretty soon. And, you know, that every single action means something and everyone's relationship to everyone else on stage and to the audience has a particular specific meaning. Finally, in this dance, it's just wave after wave of people running at us, you know, right straight out into the street at the back of the theater, I mean at the front of the theater. So they run downhill because of this rake, they run getting larger, and they just keep running, and it all goes one way, run, 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 and then the final thing is this chrysanthemum, and it's frozen, you know, it just freezes. And that, you know, that's stunning, I think. I think it's beautiful, and I think it makes you feel good. And I think that's fine. There's plenty of theater work that just rubs your nose in your misery, you know, and I don't think that that's very interesting.